And May, I'm going to pull up your document here.
Thank you, Miranda. Bonnie, I went through the comments and Susan, and I don't think I
Hang
got
on,
all of
I
them.
need to turn, hang on, I need to turn up my volume and get out of a, okay, now I can hear.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
Okay, and Miranda, I know that you're gonna you had mentioned that you were gonna try to put everything into similar formats, and so I wanna, I don't know whether we should do that now or go through everything and get it in some kind of form, and then maybe we can go back and if you want to put it in the format like Parks and Rec has. So is that what you're gonna do?
That was the thought. And I think you're kind of, in my opinion, you're kind of already there with the way you have it here and you have these bolded statements.
Okay.
I would argue that it is basically similar in the way you have it.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
great.
probably isn't much tweaking made that we'll have to do to get this in alignment. So I would just focus on your content right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Miranda, is there any way you can make that text a little bit bigger?
Yes, I need that too. Much
Great.
better, much better.
Yes. Okay. So we've left the vision statement as it was. Engagement fosters trust and encourages participation, is inclusive, interactive, and results in innovative partnerships. I know on the document on the Google Doc, somebody had thought maybe we should tweak that, but I guess we'll get to that later, right? I didn't incorporate all of those comments.
So actually, if you wanted to, and Susan, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. It was actually Susan's recommendation to make that a change with this first sentence. So I don't know if you want to take a few minutes and talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, the vision statement's important.
Susan. Oh.
So May, you weren't there at the beginning of the meeting last time when we went over that, and there was some discussion and I'm not going to insist on it. What I had originally said was, when I was thinking of this primarily as a way to get the community engaged with town leadership in decision making, I had suggested community engagement fosters trust, encourages participation, and informs town decision making. Then there was a suggestion maybe informs community decision making, but maybe we don't need to put it in, particularly since May, I like the statement that you've drafted. You have a lot of good ideas in here for for better communication. So I wouldn't insist on it. I don't think it's necessary.
Well, I like the phrase that informs decision making. Is there any way we can tack that on the end?
Well, we could leave out town or community. I guess we could just say informs.
You could just add it after participation. You could say community engagement fosters trust, encourages participation, and informs decision making. And then you still have the semicolon, is inclusive, interactive, and results in innovative partnerships.
Cool.
Yeah, that good. That sounds like a good compromise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, great. Okay, so build lasting collaborations by utilizing a broad spectrum of crowdsourcing, low and high tech, which we definitely try to flesh out here, while creating long-term allies and an engaged, informed, and interactive community to improve overall town project success and awareness. Well, I can just keep going, and then as people want to jump in, I'll leave little openings there. So find ways to support and continue a variety of community building events, such as picnics and potlucks, or themed events which bring our citizens together. That's a result of our last meeting. Create a larger base of feedback. Make people more aware of what's going on. Major points under discussion through a town newsletter /feedback loop. and informally by encouraging town events where people can mingle. Okay. Modernize communication by direct email in order to avoid costly elections. Invite via a mailing through the post office to all registered voters in Netherlands. And we might want to add, and surrounding areas in a different category. I think we want to touch on that somewhere, and I don't think I did. And Susan mentioned that Alicia had the idea way back when that we can put information, perhaps a line on the utility bills, go to.
I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't make myself clear. What Alicia had said, and this was right before she resigned, at a ProSab meeting where Big Springs residents were asking if the town could keep them informed about the Forest Service project that was going to start at that time, was planning to start cutting right around Big Springs and inside Big Springs. And what Alicia said was she thought that she could create an email collective based on information from town utility records. Now, I might have remembered something a little bit wrong. It might have been addresses. Maybe she was going to send them to addresses, and they had them because of utility bills, which are, I guess it'd be clear what part of town they're in. I don't know, but that never came to be. And it's something that I brought up yesterday when we had a Big Springs egress trip with, this is off the topic, but just quickly, I brought that up again because, Jesse Ansari and Rick and Tanya, we went out to look at the different routes for the egress, and the question of how do we get enough community knowledge about what's going on and give them the information. Jesse's now working on a comparison of the different options. So I brought that up with them, and I don't know if it's possible, and if Alicia didn't do it because it wasn't possible or because she was about to leave. But that's the idea. I understood. She mentioned utilities, that some kind of records the town has on people's residences would either give her their email address or make it possible for her to create some kind of list that the town could send out to everyone in Big Springs on one particular topic. So that's
Susan
yes.
And May, I want to give you feedback that's coming from the other committees as well as the public, which is what you're saying here is so detailed. And that's not really what this envisioning process is supposed to be. You're going really into the weeds about, it's one thing to say something like continue to update communication systems and processes to align with, the most current technology or to include the most people or things along that line. But you've got several lines here. You're focusing on the town. You're going into, really minute detail. And that's not really what this is supposed to be about. And I know the Board of Trustees will be talking about this at their May 18th when they meet. And I'm guessing that all the subcommittees will also be talking about this at their meeting next Tuesday, but not to say that these aren't all good ideas, but you really don't want to get caught in the weeds. What's better is to be, a more generalized statement about what is your intended outcome. So something like to, continually update communications to align with current technologies and to reach the most, the most constituents as possible, or something along that line. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Miranda, am I speaking correctly about what we're hearing?
Yes, I would agree that is what we're hearing. And like groups like economic development and municipal government, which you all know were very, very specific, did pull back quite a bit to create broader goals based on that feedback.
Well,
so may I make a suggestion or ask a question here?
Oh, please.
This is Bonnie. I think that some of these very specific suggestions are hugely important. And my question is, where can they be registered or kept, or, kept in relationship to the goals?
So I think it comes down to what is the next phase. And so we're asking the Board of Trustees, which direction do they want to go? Is it an Envision 2030 action plan, which was what was originally presented, or is it updating the comprehensive plan, regardless of which direction, it is in that document that we would get more specific. So that's really kind of the next phase of this process.
So let me see if I understand what you just said, Miranda. The board will determine at this next couple of meetings, one meeting, or will there be two?
It will just be one meeting. We'll ask them to give their recommendation on if we stick with the Envision 2030 action plan or if we focus on securing funding for the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Well, the reason, I mean, I would almost like to talk to Karen Blakemore. Maybe she can assist a little bit because she has an uncanny ability to back it off to the goal, but to keep it specific enough. And I think that when you're dealing with public interaction, especially in Netherlands, that you're kind of in uncharted water, and I'm trying to identify, this is a whale, this is a dolphin, this is a boat. Just as we have in the other committees, this is, and we all know what environmental sustainability is. We have documents that back that up, and we've had such a problem with public engagement that I wanted to try to be pretty specific. And as I say, maybe Karen Blakemore or Karen Garrity perhaps, but I don't want to get a lot of, foo-foo, because I think we've had that for the last 20 years and it hasn't worked. So, I mean, that is why I did detail it. So, I mean, I don't quite know where to go from here. I mean, we talk about specifics, we talk about the theater, we talk about, musicians, signage. These are tangible details. And I just think it's really been so murky, who's doing what and when, that I wanted to present an option. So I don't know.
And I really think, May, it's all about just restructuring how you're presenting the information. Because really, when you're visioning, you should be, stating your outcomes, but not getting so specific. Because when I'm reading through this, there's a lot of great information here. I'm not saying you need to get rid of it all. And maybe if you talk to Karen Blakemore, she could help you understand that better, because she's one of the people really kind of driving this, and how we're messaging these visions that have these objectives tied to them and these goals in such a way that it's still visionary as opposed to getting down into the brass tactics. And that's the way that you're going to be able to resonate with more of the people in the community once this is being presented, where it's not as if a few people have fleshed this out down to the very minute detail, as opposed to still leaving openings for the rest of the community to participate. And you're right, we do have a difficult time getting people to participate, but we don't want to close the loop either. We still want to leave some room for the conversation to unfold, and not make it look like, one committee might have this one topic all figured out down to the minutest detail. And still leave openings for, because it's going to have to be decided then, well, who's taking on these things and how are they doing it? And that's where those discussions are going to have to get more detailed. I mean, a lot of times people are saying, well, the town can do this or the town can do that. Well, it may not be the town that has the bandwidth to do whatever. And they might not actually be the ones that are most applicable. It might be someone else in the community, maybe some nonprofits or what have you. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, is that once you start going into the details, it's basically making some assumptions about who's going to be doing it and how they're going to be doing it, as opposed to objectives to help us meet this certain outcome.
Well, I understand that, but I am truly confused by this process because in the environmental sustainability group, they're talking about phasing out petroleum-based fuels, going away from natural gas. That's a very tangible objective, and I haven't heard anybody saying, well, who's going to police that? Same thing with the charging stations. I mean,
That's exactly right, May. They're saying they're going to phase it out, but they're not saying how. They're not saying who's doing it. I mean, look at this: modernize communication by direct email in order to avoid costly elections. Invite via a mailing. I mean, just read that whole paragraph. That's getting into complete details. That's not saying, make communication more effective, utilize current technologies that are diverse, that can reach a more inclusive constituency or something along that line, which would be more of an objective tied to a vision. This is more of getting into the brass tactics. You're saying the town will do this, and this is how we're going to do it. I think that's the difference. And that's what Karen was calling out, Karen Blakemore, about some of the different committees which are going into these minute details that do say you are actually calling out who and how, as opposed to what is the outcome you're trying to achieve. You're trying to reach more people.
So Karen, I hear you asking May to state this in terms of outcomes and not in terms of objectives. And I add again, it would be great if part of that statement of outcomes somehow tied these several suggestions to those outcomes, saying here are some examples. And if not in the vision document, it should be stated as an appendix or something in order to give it an airing. So
sorry, Bonnie.
So I'm just saying do both.
Right,
Maybe.
and that's a decision really for the larger committee to make next Tuesday. Don't you agree, Miranda? Or what?
Well, I was gonna say that groups like Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and environmental sustainability do kind of have that appendix of sorts, like Bonnie's talking about, because in their document they list projects and initiatives, and that's where some of these items could be moved down into.
Exactly.
And so I think that that's very much possible. But and I would be curious because Deb had pulled together the original document, going back to kind of the first set of statements. If that's maybe what you want to stick with, and then this could be your projects and initiatives document.
That might work. I like that.
Yeah.
Bonnie, thanks for that suggestion. So maybe what we should do is go through the whole document, go through all the public opinion, and then reconvene. Or if we have time today, we can try to move stuff around. I'm just afraid that if we are on a timeline, we're not going to have time to get through everything and move everything around, although we could make a stab at it. What do you think, Miranda and Karen?
Yeah, I think you've got options. You can obviously take the time tonight, or if there's a desire to kind of connect offline and reconvene on Monday, that's another option. It just needs to be done by end of day Monday so that Karen and I have something to work with Tuesday morning. So whatever you feel like makes the most sense. And since this is new to everyone, you could send this and give everyone an opportunity to merge them all together and then meet Monday, either like before or after that arts and culture.
Okay. So Susan and Bonnie, would you be available to do that, or at least to review an email? I don't know. What do you think is better, another meeting or to?
Let's see how far we get right now with going through this particular document.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, I just want to make sure we get through everything today that we have to. Okay.
And maybe what we could do when you do it is you guys could say, okay, this seems to belong in the goals and objectives. This one seems to belong in an appendix of like projects or how to.
Projects, yeah. Okay. No, I can see that happening. So let's go through and see what the, the details of it, and then we can arrange the details later. That's usually the way I do stuff, and I apologize if I don't get it organized right. So this posters all over town would probably be part of that. It might even be, part of the objectives. The same thing with the registration. All of these, sign up volunteers, post the flyer. These are all kind of come from, that overall goal. And you're saying these could be part of the objectives.
These could be part of your kind of, what were you calling it, Miranda, that the other group is calling it? It's like their appendix.
Their projects and initiatives.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
project initiative.
yeah. These are kind of the how-tos.
Okay,
how do we do this? And so these are very specific, like post a flyer, sign up volunteers, that's, create a large base of feedback, make people more aware what's going on. Those are more of the objectives, right? And your goals. And then under it, the stuff I'm seeing under that is more about, initiatives and projects.
Okay. And the very end of that first long paragraph, I say, I think that this, I think there are volunteers in the town that would help make it happen, help craft questions and so forth that could be put on the town page. And I've really been impressed with Peter. He seems really competent. But I really do feel that this Envision thing, even though you have had good feedback compared to some efforts, we're still at only a fraction of our voters. So I think it would be, oh, there's Nellie. Hi, Nellie.
Hi. Hi. I'm with her.
And
I've been with her. I've been sitting listening.
great. So I want people to keep that in the back of their minds of, could we get this thing rolling soon? Because I think it's, I don't really think it's going to be that hard to do, but
So
then.
let's go on to the next section here after.
Okay.
Yeah, if we keep moving, I think we can get through it all, in the next 30, 35 minutes.
Okay. So, registration table at events, like the farmer's market. Oh, here it is. Create a group of stakeholders, emails for people who live outside of town limits, but who want to stay apprised of town development. Sign up volunteers from neighborhood.
Sorry, someone needs to turn off their mic because we're getting a lot of gobbledygook there.
So Nellie, I think that, might unfortunately be you. So just unmute when you're ready.
Sorry, I was gonna say, are your next three, the registration, the sign up and the post, those again are like project and initiative. But then when you go to involve town partnerships and engage teams to mobilize resources, that's more of like a goal and an objective, right? Because you're not getting so far into the details. So town
Right, I see what you're doing. Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Very good.
Yeah, involve town partnerships and engage teams to mobilize resources which serve as catalysts to assist in the success of an individual project. Yeah.
And that's why I think that this would be a good test, because I think committee members are really putting a lot of energy into this. I think everybody wants to see things moving forward. So, so there it is. Could be a first goal. And then this basing town decision on voter preference and public input received on hot topics by scheduling at least one election per year, which would have referendum, which would include at least 3. For example, should town pursue which option do people prefer for downtown development, and give them some options. Second Bridge, same thing. Big Springs egress, perhaps, but things that have been before the public for years and years and years. Put it out there. And, you know, I don't know, I've been told over the years that 33% of registered voters is usually a majority, in a sense, because a lot of people aren't engaged. So that number could be tweaked.
Yeah, I want to say something like we had, and Miranda, correct me if I'm wrong, about 1,000 registered voters. And I think we have, you know, if we have 400 turnout, that's a good, you know, that's a good turnout. Am I right on that, Miranda? From
We have
our last one?
1,500, we have 1,500 registered voters.
Wow, wow. And didn't we have about 400, I think, that came out in our last election?
Yeah, just shy of that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if we had, you know, 33% might be too high. I'm just kind of searching for clarity here, especially if this is a project or initiative. And of course, that number can be argued. Anybody have any comment about should it be less than that? I just thought we should put a number on it. And that way, if the town doesn't want to do an election in off years, they wouldn't have to. But I do think that people in general feel like the town isn't a group of citizens anymore. It's a majority on the board. That's 4 people that are making decisions for the entire town. And I know, Susan, you spoke to that in yours. So, and you've already put goal objective.
So
That almost,
this is
yeah,
Bonnie.
goal
I want to say something. I think that the specifics of the base town decisions on voter preference and public input, that first phrase is to me a vision. The rest of it is a project of how you do it.
Oh,
But I
thank
still
you.
think
That's
Yes.
great. That's great
Mhm.
feedback. Yeah.
Thanks, Bonnie. You're a pro at this.
Well, we'll need to flesh that out a little bit as far as base town decisions on voter preference and public input. Just because there's going to be some decisions that, you know, the public and the voters probably, I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
what's the
what
threshold?
about saying, could I say, what about saying base major town decisions?
There
on
you
voter
go.
preference?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or town, yeah. Okay.
How easy is it for the people to vote?
It's pretty easy. I mean, in Colorado,
I mean,
you
come
know,
on, we're
people can,
spread out.
pardon?
We're pretty spread out.
Well, the ballots get mailed to you, and then you just drop them off at the community center in the election box.
Why can't they be mailed back?
Pardon?
Why couldn't they be mailed back?
You can. That's one of your choices. You can either mail it or you can drop it off at the election box at the community center.
So then
Yeah.
you would have a base of the community in a list that you could mail flyers or whatever to.
Yeah, the idea is that there would be a section of people who would sign up for a newsletter and so for the surveys, but not all voters are going to want to be involved.
And
they
not
would have to-
everybody's got electronics.
Yeah,
You got
modern.
people that are old that are computer illiterate.
Well, that's why some of the, yeah. The other idea that we had on the surveys was that we could have a Dropbox if it's a survey and not a vote. If you wanted to sign up for surveys, but you don't like the computer, that we would have places where you could drop those off. Maybe the library or the community center could have a box. And I don't think if it was just a survey, that we would have to follow election protocol in terms of
But
survey.
you'd probably want the list of people to be able to mail those surveys.
Yeah, and that's why I thought that during the Envision process, this is kind of a catalyst event. People are starting to hear about it. It's like everything in town. As it's coming to a final decision, people are starting to get engaged. So, okay, let's keep going. And easy to
Yeah, let's
navigate.
go on down the page.
Yeah, town webpage. I gave an example later in my document of some of the things that have come up in discussion. Oh, here it is. That we'd have a button, things to do around town, so that if you're looking for something to do, that's the thing you click on. You know, art, performance arts, events, festivals, ongoing stuff like nature walks, where the parks and playgrounds are, what places, you know, are focal points in the community, like the teen center, the community center. Maybe have a business directory on that. Destinations, I think that's something that a tourist or somebody who's new to town might want to look at. Just links to Mud Lake and Brainerd Lake, Indian Peaks. And then a button for getting involved. And I know town staff is just going, oh God. But I really think we could get some volunteers going that would help if there's a volume there. I mean, you got to have the vision and then the rest will follow. So anyway, that's one tab. Then the next tab is more for residents or people who are curious about our community, what's going on, what we're talking about, ongoing plans like the Wild Bear and the Barker Park. If they want to learn more about what's going on at the community center and so forth. Plans under discussion. I think we've found that the grant process is flawed because there's no public input until the grant's been written, so that we get these ideas before the public as they're being developed. And I think it will actually make our plans better. Things like what's going on at the water treatment plant. And then we'll have links to the different organizations and committees like ProSab and the DDA. And then plans under discussion. I think the thing that really turns people off is, you know, you're trying to keep track of stuff and you go to the packet and there's a 70-page thing about a traffic study or a traffic exchange or something like that. And again, you know, if town hall doesn't want to do the summaries, I'm sure that there are people who can do that. And so that people can go to the page, they can see immediately, and that Boulder County Talks or whatever it is, Boulder Talks, is an example of how they're doing it. I think Lafayette's doing it. Susan, didn't you say you'd been to some of those pages?
No,
I
I
just
was,
did. Whoops,
I was
sorry.
talking. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, Be Heard Boulder. I went to see that. I thought that was well set up. Lafayette did a really major effort to survey public opinion on 3 different futures for development for the town, which was kind of interesting. They first laid out the sort of the 3 directions, then they had a very detailed survey, which impressed me. And yes, I did take a look at it, but anyway, yeah, I thought the Be Heard Boulder one was good. Because that's an ongoing thing. Lafayette was a one-time thing. They were redoing their comprehensive plan, and it was in connection with that they did it. But Be Heard Boulder has current plans, like you're talking about here, plans under discussion, and an opportunity for people to express their opinion.
Miranda, was there any way you could just type in so we remember Be Heard Boulder, Town of Lafayette, so we can link that up a couple like that? Oh yeah, there it is. Be Heard Boulder, Lafayette.
So I want to make the suggestion that this whole section on the website, that the goal be to improve the website, or the vision, improve the website to engage the community, and then all of this would be a project initiative.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bonnie.
That sounds great. Who is doing the designing of that? Of the blog?
I'll tell you that we did recently enter into an agreement with a hosting site. It's called SIPA. And I believe we've sent information to some members of this committee before. And so it's going to revamp our website and allow it to be much more interactive. And our anticipated completion is end of this year, aiming for fall, but very latest end of 2021, which provides a little bit more of that back and forth feedback with town, and I think would meet this goal and objective. And Nellie, I can forward you the SIPA information so you could take a look when you
Okay.
take time.
Thank you.
Yeah, Miranda, I may have passed over that. Would you send that to me as well, please?
Yeah, I'll send it to everyone so you can see. I mean, there's, hundreds of other municipalities and special districts and state agencies that actually use SIPA as their hosting site. And so when you click on their websites, you can see how user friendly they are. And May, it really does exactly what you're saying here. There's a tab that says I want to, and it's like I want to blank, and it would give you, I want to learn about Envision or the IGA. It creates it so you can search things much better than our current website allows you to do.
Awesome.
Which one are we currently using?
So we use a WordPress format, so it looks kind of blog-like. If you go to our website, you'll see kind of in the middle, there's just posts.
Yeah.
And so it makes it kind of hard. In the search feature, it's just going to pull up a bunch of old blogs. And so oftentimes what's the first thing you see is an older post. And so it creates confusion because people don't know what is the most current item regarding what they want to search. So we're looking forward to just merging everything to the new site, and they will help us organize the documents too to make sure it's very user friendly.
Excellent. Cool.
All right. Is that the end of it, Miranda? The doc? Oh, yeah. Also include, we have the board and committee agendas, but, keep that. And then have a special tab for important issues that are getting near the end. Again, I think people are on mountain time up here. So I think we really need to have a timeline of some type so that even if people haven't heard about something, maybe we've decided to go forward with the second bridge and somebody lives right there, but they've been out of town, they haven't heard about it, so that's exciting that you've got somebody going to do that. And then I think it's important, and I've been bringing this up for a while, starting with the STR debate and the idea of what constitutes a good neighbor living in Nederland. It's more than a welcome packet. It's not just, where to go to eat dinner. It's what do you do with your ashes? What's a burn ban? Where can you take your hazardous waste? And most important, I think, for day to day is noise. So many people think when they get up here, they can talk on the cell phone as loud as they want, but, talk about the echoes, the light ordinances that some people are unaware of, and so forth. And I'd be happy to help craft that document. I've been ready with that one for a long time. And, I think when you hire somebody to do a web page, that if you're really going to make it personal to our town, you might want to engage some of the members of the community to interact or via you or whatever, so that we can make sure that it's personalized to our town.
And May, with this, I can see the, advancing principles of stewardship and good neighborliness as sort of the goal. And then you're going into more initiatives like creating this, this communications tool and what's going to be in it and how are we going to get it to people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like good neighbors in Ned, that would be one initiative. Good stewards of the earth, that could be another initiative.
Okay. All right, I think that's the end of my doc, unless I've forgotten something. Thank
Yeah,
you all
May,
for
sorry.
going through
I
that.
was going to ask one thing. Oh, sorry. I was going to ask about, the neighborhood idea we talked about and that Annette had brought up, and whether that would be that idea of a neighborhood organization, whether that would be part of a vision or a project, a communication project. But I
Well,
thought we did talk about it.
actually,
Would be,
that Susan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
oh, no, go ahead.
I think that could be a goal if you state it as something like, giving neighborhoods a way to communicate to, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. It's hard to think
Yeah.
about it while I'm talking, but you could have it be a goal and then have, initiatives under it. If it's about connecting people in their own neighborhoods to identify the issues that they're facing and then have a way for them to communicate, well, to address just the challenges, but then also communicate as needed with, whether it's the town or CDOT or,
Mhm.
whoever it is.
Right. No, I like that idea. I think you're right. It does
Did
deserve
that,
to
did
be.
that, did that end up, Susan, being a goal for one of the other groups? I'm trying to remember.
Not that I know of. I remember bringing it up in this one, community engagement. I don't think I brought it up anywhere else. I mean, municipal
Miranda,
government, I don't know.
could you bring that one up again, please, that document? Let's make sure, let's tweak that a little bit. I think that's good. And I think we want to add, and I think this is what's gonna really make it work. The neighbors, it's up a bit, I think. It's up in the very first part. Oh, it's in here somewhere. You know what? I wonder if we could add this neighborhood thing to this find ways to support community building. And let's see, find ways to support and continue a variety of community building events. Maybe this is where we could put the neighborhood thing. And I don't know, organize a dirty word in some circles, but we talked about this, give neighborhoods a voice. That was, I thought it might be a goal. And give neighborhoods a voice and a sense of identity or something like that. Or belonging, or give neighborhoods. Sense of identity probably doesn't work.
Probably a voice. Probably would be good. Giving
What?
giving the neighborhoods a voice.
Okay,
sure.
give
It could also
neighborhoods a
be
voice.
something
Yeah.
like create a structure to permit neighborhood by neighborhood organization or discussions of neighborhood centered issues. I don't know. But I think we need some kind of structure. Someone was talking about, oh, we'll have a neighborhood captain. I don't know what we'll do, but you would need within the neighborhoods, you would need to have some kind of structure. So you have somebody responsible within the neighborhood for organizing meetings or discussions.
Create a structure.
Very nicely worded.
Well, I like the concept of structure though, because that implies a little more organization. Create a structure for neighborhoods to organize for fun events and to ensure they have a voice in local affairs. Yeah, to ensure. I don't know, what do people think? We could probably improve that, but If we're gonna keep with our hour thing, probably better get on to the other deal, because we're obviously gonna look at this again as everything moves around, because it's gonna look different. Right?
Well, what you guys can do if you want is over the next day or two, or even the weekend if you want, go in and play around with some of this stuff. As long as, like Miranda said, we have your final document by Tuesday morning. So we can, get everything.
It would be best to get it Friday night just so we can
Well,
start
that's
on it.
true. I mean,
Yeah.
because we've got to try to collate all this stuff and put it all together for the meeting Tuesday night.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and see what we're missing in the public comment. Miranda, will you be able to bring those onto your screen? Of course. Our genius at the keyboard. Ooh, can we make it bigger? That's so much better. Okay, we dealt with that first.
I'd like to say
one.
yeah, the
Go on,
first
go
two you
ahead.
can get rid of the first two, because those are ones I discussed at the first meeting and things have moved beyond that.
It's an email, so I won't be able to track changes as well, but I'll make notes as we go.
Okay.
Can you say
And then
that it's a different kind of file, Miranda, so you can make notes on it?
I was gonna do maybe a reply all, but then it changed the, okay, give me 1 second. Are you looking at a Word doc or are you still looking at my email?
It looks like an email.
Okay, give me 1 second.
That looks like a Word.
Okay, so if you're ready, so I did a strike through because this is we've already talked about this in the other document, so.
Yeah, and you can
Any
strike through that one too. Yeah, this one about combining the objectives, that was a suggestion I made before we changed the whole perspective. So you can just take that one out too.
Okay.
The newcomer, I thought one thing I liked about Maze, it's true, a lot of people don't have the computer savvy, but to the extent that people do, it's sustainable, saves paper. And the newcomer, this idea of the living in Netherlands and good neighbors and good stewards and that kind of thing being online, I was thinking perhaps that would mean we could reduce well, I guess the gift bag that came up at a public charrette from someone. And I guess there's still, DDA might want to give people coupons and things, but they could just put on there a link to the webpage on the town with all of this information, as opposed to, so like I had added this newcomer packet includes WUI considerations, which is something actually maybe May has it in here in one of these good neighbors or good stewards, but I think that those things that I was going to add on WUI and living with wildlife,
Yeah,
let's strike out that second one, because that will go under this living in Netherlands idea May has, and we'll have to look again at the newcomer packet. I think we can just put in. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Susan, but I think we should keep the WUI and living with wildlife. Those are good components. I just WUI and living with wildlife.
Yeah, well, what I was talking more in terms of first, I was thinking we would save time and money and material if we didn't put a paper in everybody's newcomer bag with all the information and just refer them to the website, which includes WUI and wildlife. And yet the businesses might want to have material package they deliver, so they can give them coupons to encourage them to visit their businesses. And that's kind of a separate idea. Do you know what I mean? So I was assuming that your idea for this, all the living in Netherlands stuff, that includes the wildlife and the WUI.
Yeah, for sure.
But you can leave that, because we can decide what's the newcomer packet going to be. Is it just going to be, go online or something? But yeah, I mean, we should definitely educate people about those two things. It's just where we do that.
And you could probably do it on a single sheet of paper. And I mean, compared to the way people used to use paper,
Yeah.
it's nothing compared to a legal case or, these packets. They used to print those packets every time for a town meeting and have a couple extra, and that was hundreds of pages. So just having a pro and con opinion page. Are these all your comments,
Well,
Susan?
not all, but that one was, and you can take it out too. I really liked, May, the way you, and now that I've heard from Miranda that the town's working on getting a more user-friendly page, I like, you had in here that plans under discussion idea would also have a page for pro and con presentations, and then places for people to respond to it or something. So, I'm a newspaper person. My husband and I both, we have like 4 or 5 newspaper subscriptions. That's how I get my information. I love reading opposing views because it helps me understand the issues, but it really doesn't seem to be realistic. We talked about it with Barbara at the last one. So I'd say better, your idea here under what we're talking about is web pages better. The next one wasn't mine, and nor was the peak to peak region. And I don't know what people think about that. The next two, I don't know who suggested that. That's someone else.
Yeah, the disseminating information through the schools I have is part of what's now a project and initiative. That's part of disseminating the information. Also at the post office. But going the dialogue, I think we covered that. Redefine community. So it includes people in the peak to peak region. I love this idea. And we touch on it a little bit in the document. So maybe we'll look when we're going over it and see if we can power that up a little bit. What do people think?
Well, and that's an interesting comment, because there's a lot of things that go on that in our town that might radiate out, like for instance, the library district that includes a much larger area. So does the EcoPass district, and the Peak to Peak Health and Human Service Alliance includes the whole region. So I would say it's already sort of happening. The question is this, whoever said that, are they thinking for some reason they don't see it that way? So it'd be nice to know what more, how to do that in a more robust way.
That reminds me, that would be a good button to have on your webpage of, greater Netherlands districts. There's a library district. And as you're articulating, I think most people don't really understand how that works. And it's interesting. This was part of the original vision that Deb crafted, which was to eventually expand the web page and this is in arts and culture, was to have, coordinated events even throughout the peak to peak region. So I think that's part of the projects and initiatives. What should we make this a goal and an initiative? Do we want to be that strong about it?
I'm not sure you have to, because, but it's up to you guys. But this whole outreach, I mean, a lot of the people who are on our committees don't even live in town. I mean, they live outside town, but they're influencers, or they have businesses in town, or they're on some of these, nonprofit boards. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess you could put something along the lines of leverage the overlay districts, such as, the library district, the EcoPass district, the fire protection district, to reach more people for important communications or something. But I really don't know what that would look like. I think the library would be relatively easy. We actually do use our EcoPass list of participants sometimes to reach out in a broader way, but I'm just not really sure what that would look like. Like what is the desired outcome?
Uh-huh. I think it's something worth talking about, though. So leverage greater redefine community. I really think there's a lot of merit in this idea. And I believe that some of the work, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, that's been done in the Health and Human Services has been very much geared to our mountain region.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole Peak to Peak Health and Human Service Alliance, you know, the food pantry, the clothing closet, EFA that's up here, the AAA that we have for elder adults, the our cultural mountain broker that's from Boulder County. I mean, everything just about that. I think everything that our Health and Human Service Alliance partners are doing is for the Peak to Peak region. And the same is true of our fire protection district and our library district. And so there's a lot of that going on. Maybe people just don't know about it. I was just in a meeting with a group of with Dennis and Chris from the Peak to Peak Health and Human Service Alliance, and they do feel that frustration, but no matter how they try to get the word out, they still aren't reaching everybody.
Well, I think this, Miranda, perhaps make a note. I know that the webpage ideas are probably, I don't know how good or bad they are, but just working with that model for now. Let's say add button, add tab, I guess, whatever you call it, for these overlay districts. I think that's an interesting term. The Peak to Peak region, the greater we, I don't know what the tagline would be for the greater Nederland. How about that? Greater Nederland area, Metro Nederland, suburbs. I don't know, but that way people can kind of see.
Nederland proper or something, right?
I didn't catch that.
Nederland proper.
What people refer to it is the greater Nederland area.
Okay, great, perfect. So leverage the overlay districts to reach more people for important communications. That would be God, I'm getting all these words mixed up. Project initiative, right? Project initiative for the leverage the overlay districts to reach more people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And
now
then
we have just a couple minutes left, so I don't know if you want to try to extend the meeting maybe for 5 or 10 minutes. See if you can try to get it all done, or what you'd like to do.
yeah,
I'm willing to stay longer, and this is Bonnie, and I would really like to be able to go over some of my comments because they're of a different nature than what we've covered so far.
Totally, Bonnie. Yeah, let's move on. The neighborhood organization, we'll work with that. We talked about it. For important, Miranda, let's keep scrolling. For important rare events like revising comp plan, consider surveys.
You know, that was mine too. You can take that out too, because I just like the things you came up with on surveys. So it's covered somewhere else. It's going to be in the projects and initiatives, and you had some, so that's, you can get rid of that.
And I think most of this other stuff we've covered, but let's just keep going.
We have. Yeah,
because it's really, Bonnie, I do want to get to yours.
Are Bonnie's on that same list, or are those separate?
Hers are separate.
Bonnie's are in a separate document. So where Susan's anonymous feedback and then Donna Smith had feedback.
Okay.
You can skip mine. You can skip that
Okay.
one for me. It's-
And Donna Smith's feedback, the only reason I included it with this group was it was really focused on just some pointed concerns that even Envision didn't get out the way it should. And so not so sure it had recommendations, just more concern that she found out about it. And it sounds like Bonnie did too, quite a lot in the process.
That's some really great points that we totally ran with in Parks and Rec. So, all right. So, Bonnie, do you want to go through your list?
It should be very short. Not you don't. You have to scroll down to.
And it seems like it might be kind of locked for me, so I'm not sure I can make edits as we go. I can type though underneath, but
It's just a few there,
okay, perfect.
and
Oh,
if you
yeah.
can make it bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger. Boy, we talked about the library and it somehow it didn't make it into that document that I have. But go ahead, Bonnie. Will you please explain? You explained it so well. Your
Okay.
vision there.
So the idea is that a lot of times neighbors are not communicating well with one another. And there are lots of communication tools through classes or webinars that would help neighbors deal with their own differences with one another instead of taking it to the police or the town. And also the other part was that perhaps there can be an informal group of people to whom, neighbors, things could be referenced to them so that they could help people communicate with each other. And then that was the first one. The second one is provide mediation instead of calling the police. Antoinette taught mediation in this community several years ago. So those were the two around communication. And
Bonnie, I want to mention that the third one you have about creating that coordinated calendar of events, a lot of people keep suggesting that and have been suggesting it for years. And the problem is there really isn't an entity who's got the bandwidth to be able to put it together, update it regularly, make sure it's coordinated. It includes everybody, all the different organizations. So I'm just going to put it out there that this is something that has been talked about quite a bit, but there's
okay. So what about, can I ask a question?
Sure.
KGNU has an automatic setup where people can, post things themselves. And if you have these organizations have access to that calendar, then nobody would have to maintain it. It's just up to the organizations themselves to post on the calendar of events. So it would become a question of, like that could be added to the Netherland website, and it would be a question of whoever, find out where KGNU got their, I don't know what you call that, their software or whatever.
So where it becomes tricky for a town is we have to be mindful that we can't, promote one entity or one business. We have to be able to, so that's why we don't even necessarily have, every business listed in town. So it'd have to be, really, it's kind of a chamber thing, which we don't have. And so we'd have to find who would be the format for that, because it really shouldn't tie to town because of a bias issue.
Well, and there's actually regulations about what can be on government websites. So we'd have to be really careful about that. And we just don't have the time or the bandwidth anyways. It really, like Miranda said, would need to be a chamber, which we don't have. We used to, and there has been talk about trying to establish one again. But I hear what you're saying. I used to be in this business. I used to be in cultural affairs, and I'll tell you that the software program to do a calendar like you're talking about is hugely expensive. And you really have to have somebody who knows what they're doing operating it. Because even though on the front end, somebody's adding to it, there's a whole back end administrative piece of it, an IT piece of it as well. So anyways, I think it's a great idea, and really it should be like a Chamber of Commerce doing it. We just don't have a Chamber of
Well, but
I hear ya. I do hear ya. And I want to go back and just ask if the A and the B can be added to the vision in some way, or as project initiatives. You know, it would be improve communication between neighbors.
those are great
to
ideas.
handle-
And I
To
think,
handle, so
Oh,
the
go ahead.
vision would be improve communication between neighbors to handle differences and conflicts.
yeah, and I think the library has actually talked about some sort of conflict management type workshops and communication, and how do you have those hard conversations, and you bring, let's say, I'm just using an example, the right and the left together in one place, and have a congenial kind of conversation around opposing views. So I totally think that's a great idea. If May, if you and Susan agree.
yeah, I agree. I also think that if we were to organize neighborhoods, that this would be something that could work out of the library as well. But I like your vision of that. And there could even be a tab on this new webpage, um, get help with your neighbor, problems with your neighbor, what should I do?
Right, and then with D about improving walkability and biking ease for students getting to school, I know that is actually in the arts, culture, and education vision and goals.
I was looking at the prices or at the monetary, and one bid was like, I think it was like 100,000, right? Did anybody else ever check out like the cost of that?
Cost of what now?
Of the walk, there was like a sidewalk proposed over by the high school.
Oh, yeah, it's actually more expensive than that. It would connect Tungsten Village, or I'm sorry, Tungsten Trail to the high school, but it involves crossing into private property, and also some reworking and re-engineering of the area. There is a grant that we're hoping to be able to apply for, but it's probably not going to be ready to be applied for by this November when it's due, because there's so many partners playing in this. Boulder County, the Boulder Valley School District, the town. I think the United States Forest Service is also in on it. There's just so many players, and it is expensive. It's unfortunate, but it's probably going to be more along the lines of close to $1 million.
Oh my goodness. For less than a quarter mile of a road.
Well, it's more than that. It's a lot more, because finding a safe place to cross when kids come up the Tungsten Trail and then they have to cross over that road right where that curve is, and then the road narrows and there really isn't a place on the that would be the north side for the kids to. It's really complicated. I mean, I'd be happy to take people out there and show you, but this thing has been in the works for a couple of years now. But the other piece is it has to cross into private property, and just trying to get that private property owner on board has been really tricky.
Oh,
Wait, the private property owner's on board.
Well, that's, Taylor, you know what I mean.
Yes, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean.
Yes.
Well,
It's just a lot of moving pieces.
and that's it'd be so good if we could keep people, the same things come up over and over again. We've talked about this, boating on Barker, why isn't there this and that? And I want to talk to your web designers, because I see this as an incredible opportunity for the town. But guys, it's almost 5:40, and I want to go back to Bonnie's thing here, and I'm good with it. Susan, are you good with this?
I think it's a great idea to have as a goal, looking for programs, yes, that can help neighbors speak to each other. And I think you're right as well, May, that if we do focus on this idea of neighborhood structures, that could be part of the neighborhood structure as well. I mean, working together toward conflict resolution, mediation. I think, Bonnie, it's such an issue everywhere in our country now, but it'd be great on a neighborhood level to start learning to disagree civilly or how to resolve conflicts over, as Bonnie says, to avoid calling the police or bringing in the town.
And this is actually a program that a lot of libraries are getting into.
Yeah, and they could be the kind of the hub of the wheel there for neighborhoods, perhaps, as we're looking for ways to decentralize all these great ideas. So what would our goal be on this one? Do we want to break it from the library? Do we want to restrict it to the library as a goal? Is the goal to help neighbors get to know and communicate with one another?
Yeah, that's the goal is provide an outlet or resources for neighbors to get to know each other and communicate with each other effectively.
Effectively,
Yeah, and then your initiatives are going to be things like, partner with the library to see if it's possible for them to conduct workshops or, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh. So the library part, the webinars,
yeah, and I wouldn't want to assume that the library can take it on because, they're just like everybody with limited resources. But, it's talk, that's where in your initiative, it's, reach out to these partners to see if it's feasible kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think if we go back to the goal objective and instead of saying, and Bonnie, I appreciate where you're coming from, but in radio, we learn to always try to be a positive, use positive words. So to help neighbors get to know and communicate, I came with a better word than effectively, productively, because this implies that, you're not just going to stop at the conflict, you're going to go past it. And you find out maybe you both like the same kind of red hot chilies that they only grow in one town in the whole world. And you're going there this summer. You know what I'm saying? So, to keep it on a more positive, and again,
I think you need to say, be specific and say communicate productively around differences.
Or around conflict resolution or something like that.
I would just say if you want to not use difficult language, just say differences.
To help neighbors get to know and communicate productively.
So it's help neighbors get to know each other better. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, get to know each other.
I do really have to get off in a couple minutes, guys.
All right, well, we're going to continue to work on this. So is that it? Wasn't there one more? Oh, Donna. Donna didn't have very much in community engagement. Her main thing was she didn't even know about it. And then she had a very interesting point, which is there's a town service that the timing doesn't work for her. And I think she wonders, how would a person go about getting that changed? And that might be something we want to put on the webpage is, town service not working for you or, report a pothole. But, I don't know if she's looking for a feedback loop there or a change in the policy, obviously. I don't know what we can talk about it while the document's coming up. Because I know where Donna lives.
You also had a document from someone who wanted to remain anonymous that has feedback in it.
Okay. And I put in about putting it at the food pantry, post office and library. We want to make sure we put the newspaper in there. But, and then she goes on about she's confused about, the ADU, SDR, I don't know. What do you call it? Lodgers. But I don't think it's pertinent to this discussion.
I would say only this maybe, and that's why I added it. It was just mainly because of this first comment of concern that they weren't reached and had some suggestions about where to go. So I'm not sure that anything else in her document is pertinent to community engagement.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought there was something at the end, but maybe it was about the you've probably got it right there, Miranda.
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's mostly housing that's at the end here.
Okay. Well, we'll deal with that tomorrow, right, Kayla?
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the anonymous one? Are we going to look at that?
That's this one I have up right now.
Oh.
All right, sorry, all right, there you go.
Can you make it a little
bigger? Yeah.
You must have extremely good eyesight, Miranda. Town project knowledge. Yeah. This comment seemed a little bit negative, but I think we got most of it. This paragraph in particular, it's all covered in my webpage idea. If people don't know, they aren't accessing the information. Okay, so that's kind of negative. Visitors are not part of this process. That's an interesting point.
You want to create visitor awareness, but they're not a part of the process.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Nope, I think I'll put
How
that
do you
in.
do that?
Okay. Increase, just take visitors out. So going back up 2 lines. Okay, increase resident awareness and leave out visitor. And then I think we've taken care of it. Good call. Somebody saw that. Okay. All right. And then going down, I can think of several individuals who regularly participate. Most people are uninformed. Like I'm saying, this person seems kind of negative. You can lead a horse to water. Wow. Just look at this process. Every opportunity. Wow. Okay. So there you have it. That's the end of it, if I recall. Or do they have more to say?
That's the end of it.
Okay. All right. Well, did we cover it all? Did I leave something out here? Maybe I'm being
So maybe I'm asking, so are you still sticking with what was originally presented, or is it your document that we're really working off of?
We're working off of mine. I thought I left everything in and just put new stuff in, but I'll have to go back and cross check.
Okay.
And I will.
Let me just check through here on your document instead.
So very good. Yes.
We know what we're looking at. Okay. Perfect. And then I'll send this back to the whole group with the notes on it. So you can kind of keep offline having additional conversations if you'd like about that. Since it's all, I moved even Bonnie's comments at the bottom of your document here, May.
Okay.
I thought I did. I will go back and make sure it's here. So all the feedback's on just one document.
Yeah, that'll make it easier. Great. Well, boy, I
Thank you all.
Without Deb, but with the new group, we're solid. So, and Karen and Miranda, as always, you guys are awesome. So thank you so much for making this happen and staying late. And looking forward to that email, Miranda. We'll take it from here and we'll get it back to you as soon as we can.
Cool. I'll send it out just in a couple minutes. Thank you all so much. I think this is great.
We sure appreciate all of you.
Yes, echo
Thank
in
you.
thanks to Miranda and
Thank you.
Karen for all your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night, you guys.
Good night. Good night.
Oh.
Night.